I think that's great, and that, along that lines is when we look at divorce, obviously I know you've been a great advocate for domestic violence, been on the forefront for that too, both particularly at the state level, seeing ways that we can intervene, helping fund and get resources to those communities or those organizations that really address domestic violence. As a woman, and both as a legislator and as a wife, what do you see the challenges there? How do you see the challenges of women particularly, and how we can help empower women and strengthen marriage, but also help fight this terrible plague of domestic violence?
I think our churches are really doing a lot in that avenue, and I certainly wouldn't want to intervene in what they're doing, and I would want to support them any way I could with what they're doing. I think they're doing a wonderful job at education, and I think working with families on that issue. And there are groups, community groups out there that have worked and partnered with churches and with government in some cases. Don't want government too involved, you know, but would want to do everything I could do to help provide educational resources and anything from that standpoint, because that is a critical issue.
Right. Well, great. And you've also mentioned on gas prices and things like that. I know there was some question about gasoline policies and oil policies, things like that. What do you think Congress needs to do as far as addressing that issue? What is your position on that?
This is an issue that is really affecting Alabama families. You know, when you have to decide whether you're going to fill up the gas tank, and just, I mean, conservatively planning your schedules. I mean, it's pretty serious right now with families, and they're having to decide what they're going to put off paying in bills. I think it's a shame that Congress has not stepped up to the plate and already taken charge of America's destiny. And I think what we need to do to take charge of our destiny is drill here, drill now, and pay less. I really like the idea of actually kind of not being, I guess, not having other foreign countries control our destiny there. We have oil fields in this area, in this nation, that we can tap into, and I think once we do that, that market prices will go down. And I think we've got to stop bowing down to those liberal environmental groups that have kind of made it like it's just going to be this terrible thing if we do this with our natural resources. But you know, we have clean sources of energy nowadays, and I think it'd be a great thing to do to take control of our own destiny.
Right. The other area also, that's great, and obviously that's been a tremendous challenge to all of us families now. Tell us a little bit also, we have a strong military presence obviously in the 2nd District. I was a former military, and many of our Christian community, people in our Christian community either served in the military or presently serve in the military. How do you think the 2nd District, as far as representing them on the military issues, what are the priorities that you feel like that needs to be addressed by Congress as far as military funding and military issues?
As you know, in the 2nd Congressional District, this is probably one of the major issues that I think the new Congresswoman should be able to be very knowledgeable about and should be foremost on their minds, and that is our military bases. With Fort Rucker, with Maxwell, Gunner, I mean, these bases provide hundreds and thousands of jobs, and they have a huge economic impact to the families of the 2nd Congressional District. While serving in the Alabama State Senate now for 10.5 years, my Senate district actually takes in the Fort Rucker base. So I've got 10.5 years actually of working with military families, as well as serving on the Veterans Affairs Committee at the state level for 8 years. My husband was in the National Guard for 28 years and now is in the reserves. He's a colonel. Very proud of him and his service to our country. And I've been the wife of a battalion commander and worked with families whose husbands or wives are sent to Iraq, and I understand what it means. And I've worked with those families in the hard times when maybe their husband's gone and they've got a problem and need a little extra help. I mean, so I've been a battalion commander's wife, and I've worked hard to help support military families. My husband's a member of the Friends of Fort Rucker, so we're very, that's a group that supports keeping that base very viable for the Wiregrass area. And I know there's support groups up in the Tri-River region in the Montgomery area that support the Gunner Air Force and the Maxwell Air Force Base to make sure that it stays viable. So I have a working knowledge of making sure that we don't get on that BRAC list and we lose jobs. What I want to do is do everything I can do to expand our missions at those bases and support our commanders there, make sure that we're very viable for the future, because it's a huge impact to our communities economically. And I want to thank all those who have served in the military, and thank you for service to our country.
Yeah.
Very proud.
Great, great. Well, I'm going to ask one last question, Harri Anne,
Okay.
because I think there is a contrast, obviously, between you and your opponent. You come more from the Wiregrass, from more of a more rural background. Your opponent is more localized here in the metropolitan Montgomery area and more of that business. And not to put words in your mouth, but is there a distinction there as far as how maybe they could relate to the issues that maybe people are facing in Congress? I mean, in the second district, excuse me. What type of things are going to be priorities and what's going to be interest? Do you see there are different priorities because of the background of both of you?
I actually serve in the state senate with a district that is very long east to west, and the needs are very common from the east to the west. So this district that I'm hoping that you'll give me the honor of serving is north to south long. And the one thing I have learned in going all over this district during the campaign are the issues in the north part of the district, from military to agriculture to economic development to transportation needs, are exactly the same issues that we're talking about in the Wiregrass. So I'm very familiar, have the experience of being a mayor. I served as mayor of my hometown for 2 years, served on the city council for 6, being in the Alabama State Senate for 10.5 years. I really have the experience of working with local governments, understanding the grant needs that they may need to help with infrastructure. Served on the Joint Transportation Committee, understand about federal dollars and what it means to expand our roadways in these areas up in the northern part of the district, up in the Wetumpka, Millbrook area, and the need for the road work in that area, the 4-laning projects because of our transportation needs to provide economic development to those areas, as well as the same needs down in the Wiregrass area. So while it may be a long district, the one thing I have learned is that these needs are very common to both ends of the district. And you run for the representative seat every 2 years. So I'm sure if you elect me, I'm certainly going to do my best to get reelected and serve the whole area.
Right. Well, this is great. Harri Anne, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I think it's been extremely informative to me, but I know to our viewers and the followers of Christian Coalition in Alabama. I want to also tell everyone that we did offer this also to Representative Love, and he, because of scheduling conflicts, could not arrange to have this interview, but we did want to give this opportunity to Senator Smith, because it's taking time to talk with us and everything. And if you have any questions about Senator Smith's positions, you can either email her at her web address for her race for Congress or at Christian Coalition of Alabama. And we thank you very much, and please vote on July 15th.
Thank you very much for the time to speak with you today.